Over the past week, I've been talking quite a lot about portfolio careers. These are careers that you create as opposed to things that you pursue. But the fundamental question becomes, what sort of skills do you need in order for you to survive in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years when it comes to your career? We understand that things are fluid by nature. We understand that things are changing day by day, whether it is the Trump presidency or whether it's things happening with Russia and Ukraine or changes to interest and inflation rates. All of this stuff is happening. And so how do we put ourselves in a position where we're at an advantage? Now, I don't change anything that I've said before, so you can go and watch those videos. But essentially, you need to commit to this whole idea of the locus of control. What does that really mean? It means that control the things that you can and disregard the things that you can't. It's that simple. That's how you need to move. But I want to talk about some skills that I believe that you need in order for you to thrive moving forward. And these are the same skills that I've had to apply when it comes to my portfolio career. Okay. So the first thing I want to talk to is this whole idea of adaptability. You need to be fluid. You need to be able to iterate and make changes. You're not a tree. You can move, you can walk, you can run. And so what that really means is you need to be able to receive information in such a way where you start to make a decision. That's called being intelligent. We get data, we review the data and assimilate it and summarize it and make a conclusion and therefore make a decision in terms of how we moving forward. So you need to be adaptable. It's important, especially in the times we're in right now. People are talking about, oh, I'm going to be replaced by AI and all this kind of stuff there, or robots or whatever it may be. But how are you preparing for this? Are you just gonna bend over and let them do what they're doing? I hope not. You need to make sure that you are positioned for success. Therefore, that means you need to bring in data. You need to read stuff, listen to things that feed your mind. And so where do you get the sources of data from? Maybe you check out things from the World Economic Forum. Maybe you're watching YouTube videos and there's an influencer who's talking to you about stuff. Maybe you get that from very different sources, not just like an Instagram or TikTok, even though they could be helpful. Maybe it's a situation where, I don't know, because you have ideas of how markets work and how economics or socioeconomics work or geopolitics works, it gives you a sense of what is happening, therefore how you position yourself. I personally find that the spring and UK budgets always set some sort of context in terms of what's happening in terms of the labour markets and how I position myself. In addition to that, things like the World Economic Forum are a great source of information. They got some great infographics and documentation to support where they think the world is shifting. So if you've seen things like top 10 skills to have by 2030 or top 10 roles to be in by X date, whatever it may be, these give guides. They're not the be or end all, but these gives guides. And of course, there are always going to be clues when it comes to changes in technology. What is going to be favored? Anything that creates that technology, maintains that technology, that has IG and protections and quality centered around that technology. People who need upskilling and training to support that technology. The gap that the technology creates, serving that sort of community. So adaptability is important. Okay, so it's having the right mindset to be intelligent about how you make decisions and not being scared to take the leap. When we think about the whole sort of like bell curve when it comes to change, there are people who are ready to take change straight away. Okay, so I've forgotten what they're called, but they're just on it. I think they're called innovators. Then you got early adopters, people who see what they're doing and like, yeah, we need to jump on this as well. It's kind of like when people jumped on TikTok for the first time. I think it was called Musically back in the day. I was one of those people. I was an innovator. I jumped on there, but it felt weird staying on there because there's all these kids. Lo and behold, I became the early majority. Okay, those people who jump on kind of late, but they're not necessarily like super late. They're kind of early in the grand scheme of things, but it feels late. Then you got the late majority, and then you got people who are just lagging behind, who just kind of don't like any sort of change. So bearing all of this in mind, you want to be an innovator or an early adopter, but innovators is where it's at. So it feels like some sort of like educated risk, but the reality is that actually, if you don't try, you'll never know. So the first thing is adaptability. The second thing I want to say is emotional intelligence. Why do I say this? If you are taking on different gigs and or contracts, you need to be able to understand how to communicate effectively with individuals. You need to be able to really understand your self-awareness, and also understand how to manage the information from that self-awareness so that you can communicate with people effectively and also understand their cues as well. So emotional intelligence is a big one. This is how you develop leadership skills. This is how you develop negotiation. This is how you develop influence. Okay, it's understanding how people act, but there has to be a certain level of authenticity that's adopted behind this. And so that authenticity stems in these different areas. So number one, commit to being yourself. Okay, they call that authentic living within the whole psychology space. Be yourself. Don't have so much self-monitoring where you're trying to be someone else or just completely being like this raw version. Like, find that happy middle. So authentic living, being yourself, is number one to being authentic. Second thing is centered around self-alienation. Do you rate yourself? Or do you put yourself in a position where you feel like, actually, do you know what? I don't like how I'm moving. I don't like how I feel. I don't like the way I look. There's no time for all of that stuff there. You need to be your own cheerleader, my friend. I'm telling you, because no one else is going to do it the way you need to do it for yourself. The third thing is centered around just whether you are influenced by other people and things. Do you make your own decisions? And the way you make your own decisions is purely based on what you deem as important. What has life told you? What context do you have that really influences what you think is important to do? Okay, so you may have choices in front of you. What do your values say in terms of making those decisions? I say this all to say that authenticity is key, because when it comes to that, people can at least know, like, and trust you. They feel like they know you better. They feel like they can relate to you better. Therefore, they feel like they can open up and say things. So rather than having transactional conversations, you're having more transformational ones. You're having ones that are more meaningful by nature. This all stems within the whole EQ space. So emotional intelligence is a key one. Having the right level of active and powerful questions and listening. Making sure that you have the right level of feedback, whether it's for yourself or to others. Making sure that you can motivate and encourage people to do stuff. Framing things a certain way so that people know how to respond. It's basically being a coach or a mentor everywhere you go. And to sort of like ensure that you don't get sacked for whatever reason, or people view you a certain way. You have to understand your environment. You have to understand how to maneuver different people. So don't be quick to just leave if you don't even have a backup plan. You only do that stuff when you know you've laid the foundation when it comes to your finances and everything else. But obviously, don't fully compromise your values. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just understand how you be fluid and understand how to maneuver with people as well. So emotional intelligence is the second one. The third one is centered around time management. You need to understand, I don't even call it time management, I call it energy management or activity management. How do you maneuver within a space? Like, what does that look like? When it comes to managing multiple things, you need to be your own project manager. Maybe you want to use a Notion board, okay? Maybe you want to use something like, I don't know, Trello or Asana or something like that. Maybe you don't even need to use those things. Maybe you can use Google Sheets or an Excel spreadsheet to track your time. Maybe it's just Google Calendar or Outlook, okay? The point I'm making is you need to find a way to have effective time management, energy management, and activity management, because you're going to have to meet deadlines. Work-life balance as a totality does not exist, but you need to understand what balance looks like for you. If you are doing things that you enjoy or are related to your curiosities, which is what I spoke about in my first video for this series, then it's not going to feel like you're burning out. You've got the energy, so that's different. So your balance may be a bit different to what my balance looks like. So you have to be really good at being efficient with your time. And this is where you may want to leverage AI tools. So whether this is meeting note takers, or whether this is, again, getting it to brainstorm things or create templates for you, whether it's using automation tools like make.com and Nathan and Zapier to basically connect different things. Spend the time to be as efficient with your time as possible so you don't waste people's time. Obviously, many of you know about the Eisenhower matrix, and they talk about how there are things that are urgent that need to be done, things that are important that need to be done, things that can be put to the back burner, and things that can be delegated, and other things that don't need to be sort of like focused on at all. So understand what that looks like for you specifically. Understand how to manage your priorities, okay? So that's another thing you need to do. The fourth thing I'd say, is centered around networking. So For me, networking comes into two sort of like phases. There's networking when it comes to maintaining a relationship and continuing that. Sometimes you have to use milestones to do this. So maybe this is birthdays, or maybe there is something that pops up in the news or content that is around the thing that you discussed with somebody last. So that's another thing. So topical stuff. There are situations where you just want to check in to see how people are doing. Okay, maybe you do that on a weekly or monthly basis based on the sort of relationship you have with those individuals. The fourth thing is centered around going to events. So going to things where you guys can bond deeper, whether these things are more social by nature or professional by nature. These are four things that you do in order to build a relationships. But when it comes to starting new things, if you've met someone within an environment, but you haven't spoken to them after that environment, such as work or a contract or whatever it may be, check out how they're doing on LinkedIn. Don't leave it for months. Maybe it's a month later, maybe it's 3 months later. It could be as long as 6 months later. But follow up. I swear to you that the money is in the follow up, as they say. And this is not just about money. This is about how do you maintain those relationships when it comes to networking. Follow up with those individuals. The other thing I'd say to that is if you are at an event, be open. Don't have an agenda. You know, you could vibe with someone, be a great listener. Okay, people love it when you are listening. Ask great questions at the right time. And when I say that, don't just interrupt people. Just hear what they have to say. Make them feel like they are the only person in the room and you're giving them all your attention. Be prepared to talk about what you do. Hi, my name is Michael Tabaradi. I'm an independent consultant that focuses on program management, specifically within public sector organizations such as the NHS. I help these organizations essentially deal with digital transformations and help them become more efficient and productive so that they can save more time and money and lead better. I didn't memorize that. I just kind of know what to say. Do you understand? Am I going to say it that fast? No. Am I going to say it where it has those elements? Of course, because they've got more questions tailored towards that. That's how you build the relationship. You listen actively and attentively. You say things. You have a rapport. That's how it's done. So don't think too hard about it. Make it more organic. If you need to reach out to people, of course, you can basically sort of like just introduce yourself and not make them feel like you just want something from them. Build a rapport. It takes time. Don't rush the process. That is the key thing I want to say with that. So networking is going to be a big thing. And there's not always going to be something that you get immediately. Maybe it's down the line. You have to have that in mind. You have to be a long-term thinker, strategic by nature. The other thing I want to talk about, the fifth thing, is more centered around financial acumen. So you need to be your own finance manager. You need to be somebody who understands how money works. Understand how money works. Understand psychology and how money works. So really that looks like, how do you grow money? Okay. Or make more money? How do you manage your money? And also, how do you protect your money? So this is why I'm a big fan of looking at the spring and autumn budgets within the UK. This is why I like understanding what's happening economically, socio-economically, and geopolitically as well. I am not necessarily a political person, whatever it may be, but I try to understand this stuff so I understand how it affects me on a personal level. What does that mean for me and the people around me that I love? That's important. What does that mean in context for money? It means it helps you understand where you should put your money, how you should manage your money. Do I put it into this ISA? How much interest do I get on top of that? You know, are there opportunities within this space to capitalize on in terms of like contracting or consulting or volunteering potentially in order for you to do that thing moving forward? Are there situations where you can get protections in your specific situation? You have to be your own finance manager. You have to be in a position where you're checking on a weekly or monthly basis, at least a monthly basis, your finances. If you've got a partner, you sit down with them and you try to understand what's happening on their side. They understand what's happening on your side. I don't understand these partners who don't say what they have. What's the point of being together? Of course, yes, there are certain conditions, X, Y, Z, but if you're married, hey fam, you need to put your ego aside. If you're getting married, these are the sort of things you need to think about as well. So bear all of this stuff in mind. If you want to budget, if you want to be in a position where you're budgeting, do that. But it's all in context to your situation. So hopefully that's made sense. The sixth thing I want to talk about is having the ability to be self-motivated. So there are going to be times where you can't be bothered to do certain things. Yes, you're doing stuff that you're passionate about and all this kind of jazz there, blah, 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 blah. But the reality is there's going to be some days where you can't be bothered. And I would say sometimes on those days, you need to allow Grace into your house and let Grace just sit on your couch and you have a conversation. But at some point, you need to kick Grace out the door and basically say, hey, Grace, you're making me terrible, you know. I haven't bathed, I stink, I haven't eaten. There's a whole shebang of things I haven't done because you've been here. So yes, have grace, but don't hold on to it for too long. And so what do? You have to be able to create an environment that allows you to be motivated. This is what I do. Number one, I have an accountability buddy. I have multiple accountability buddies for different things. My wife is my accountability buddy. My sister's my accountability buddy. My brother-in-law is my accountability buddy. My friends are my accountability buddies. They're for different things, where it comes down to business, finance, etc., etc. You know, my faith, all of that kind of stuff there. Of course, I've had people in the past where I've met them at events and they've been accountability buddies as well. There are different ways you can do that. So accountability on a weekly or monthly basis, okay? You can have mastermind groups. If you don't have one, set one up. Find the right individuals who are ambitious enough. They don't have to be in the same domain or industry. And you all talk about your stuff for 15 to 20 minutes. Maximum of 10, 12 people. Okay, if you want to go with the whole Jesus vibe. Minimum of 3 people. So think about that stuff there. That's practical stuff. Other stuff that you want to do is to at least each year set your goals, set your intentions. Whatever you want to call, I don't care what you call it, as long as it makes sense. I've got this thing called the life management system that I utilize that has helped me as a Notion template, and it guides you through this stuff. Very useful. I use it all the time. I use it regularly. Okay, so it covers all of that stuff, but it's a reminder. It serves as a reminder in terms of what I need to do. Have something in terms of your desktop display picture, or maybe on your phone. So I've got this right now. And I have, I think, like 12 different images that essentially remind me of what I want to do, whether that's body goals, food goals, when it comes to money goals, relationship goals, spiritual goals, all of these different things. It's a reminder, okay? You also want to be in positions where maybe you take on courses or go to events that, again, invigorate this motivation. But sometimes it's as simple as playing music. Sometimes I just play Afro beats or gospel music and I get into the mood and I'm just shaking and moving. I just want to take on the world because I feel good. Sometimes it's a conversation with the right friend. So there are loads of ways to be motivated. I'm telling you. Utilize all of those ways. You need structural ways and you need more sporadic and spontaneous ways. This is how we maintain a certain level of motivation. And if you're developing a portfolio career, you definitely need that, because there are going to be some times where you're just like, this is long, this is hard. So hopefully that makes sense. Another thing that you want to develop as a skill, so number 7, is your personal brand. Okay, I did a presentation on this to the Institute of Leadership at their Institute Live event last year. I'm a trustee for them as well, so I had to fill in last minute. So I thought, yeah, why not? I had a day to do this presentation, but it's helped me think about it quite a lot. And during my time on 2023, 2024, I think more 2023, I started to develop this whole idea of what a personal brand looks like. And for me, in my mind, it is the perception you create based on the associations that relate to you. Essentially speaking, your brand is what people think it is, but you give them the opportunity to think what it is based on what you show them. That's essentially what it is. So there has to be a level of consistency there. There has to be a real cause behind what you're doing. You have to be committed to all of that kind of stuff. Who do you want to become? That's the ultimate question. And that needs to feed into what you're doing right now. So me doing this for almost a week now is highlighting consistency. Am I gonna make the month? We'll see. I mean, I'm not gonna be really upset about it if I don't, but the point being made is I'm educating people and I'm showing people my brand based on what I'm saying, how you say it, the way I dress, X, Y, and Z. I'm not always gonna be just, proper, by the way. I'm just letting you know, because doing a video every single day on your phone for a month is not easy. It's not easy, I'm telling you. But anyway, we keep it moving. Point being made is your brand differentiates you, and it's the reason why people are drawn towards you. If you try to serve everybody, you serve nobody, and that's not useful for you. So you have to be someone who's distinct by nature and somebody who draws people in. This is where things like content comes into play, potentially, but you don't have to do content. This is where how you dress, how you speak, and again, don't try to be somebody that you're not, how you present yourself, the nuances that you have in terms of your behavior, the things that you talk about online and offline, the sort of events that you go to, your accreditations and your experiences and your qualifications, the people that you associate yourself with. All of this stuff speaks to your brand. There is a system and there is a way that you do this. But again, if you don't adopt this stuff, then you're not going to be able to define, again, how people should view you. And usually how people should view you should be at least aligned to the authentic version of yourself, because that's how you draw people in the most. Being authentic. It's not just about money at the end of the day, but it is about making sure that you can have human connection with individuals. And if it means that you get remunerated for that, then why not? Hopefully I said that word properly. It just means payment. Anyway, next thing I want to say is something about resilience. I love talking about resilience, but I'm not going to lie to you, it's not everyday struggle. It's not everyday struggle. But it's important to be resilient. And resilience comes from the fact that you understand your context so much that you're able to move through a situation. I remember a time when I was junior in my position back in the NHS. I was working for St. George's Hospital, and I think I was an admin person before I started doing all the project stuff. And I asked this question in this, I think it was 7 Habits of Highly Effective People course. And I said, how do you overcome certain barriers? How do you overcome things? If you tried everything in the world, what are your options? And the trainer was just like quabbling with, some other people trying to work out what to say. But I kind of worked it out in a moment. And in that moment, I realized you just need hope. You need a sense of hope sometimes. You need to hang on to something that gives you that sense of direction and becoming. Okay. And so with that in mind, you have to recognize that like philosophically, theoretically, practically, there are other people who have overcome some of the challenges that you have overcome. This is just a blip. If you look on some sort of like, let's say, for example, an investment chart or trading chart or wherever it may be, there are lows, there are highs, there are lows, there are highs, there are lows, there are highs, but it's all going up. Hopefully I did that the right way. It's all going up. So what you may be at a higher low at the moment, okay? But essentially, you may be moving towards that higher high. And so you have to have that resilience along the way to know that you need to move forward. Sometimes moving forward means doing nothing and just taking time to think, what are the things in my way? Using first principles, how can I navigate moving forward? Like practically speaking, what's my first step? And what outcomes do I get from that? It's that simple. Sometimes we are so frustrated, we're in this space for a long time, but that's actually the process. And so rather than just sort of like waiting on things, do other stuff. Do other stuff whilst you're waiting. So hopefully that gives you sort of an idea in terms of resilience, in terms of a skill that you need to develop. But momentum comes from understanding what needs to be done and doing the small things each day, even if you're just relying on hope. The ninth thing is centered around continuous learning. So you have to be able to stay ahead. There are so many people I speak to right now. I have some friends who have no idea about some of the stuff that I talk about when it comes to AI or building apps or automation or agentic tools. They have no clue. I'm not saying I'm the most versed person, but I'm on the edge of understanding how this benefits me for my portfolio career, how I can become more efficient, how I can become more dangerous, how I can become more effective. This is important. We're not being productive for productive's sake, but we're trying to create this lifestyle that supports us. So learning comes in the form of watching different things, listening to different things. Okay, so maybe there are podcasts that you listen to. Of course, you can't verify facts and all of this stuff all the time. But again, they raise questions that may support your understanding and progression. There's also going to be sort of like vocational qualifications. So I spoke to someone who was helping me understand my product offering, and they're within the project space. And they said actually they feel quite confident when they have been trained specifically within a certain area. And I hear it makes sense. It makes sense to do that. So maybe there are things that you need to do. Maybe you're a project manager, maybe you're a business analyst, maybe you're a program manager. Have you done your MSP? Have you done your, I don't know, your Prince 2 or Agile? Have you done your change management? Have you done your ITIL service management? Have you done your business analysis course? Think about how you can get ahead. And if you can't fund it right now and your portfolio career includes you being in a permanent 9 to 5, try and get HR or the people and culture services to fund you. It's not always easy because these things can be expensive. What's the next best thing that's going to position you and allow you to be ahead of the game? The other thing I want to talk about is this whole idea, and I guess this is a bonus, is strategic thinking. What's your long-term play? Why do you want this portfolio career? So question for me, why am I doing what I'm doing? I guess I understand that there are going to be a whole bunch of people that need help, really developing and finding their careers, because the way things are moving, a lot of people are not prepared for it. They're comfortable in their cushy role. And so in their minds, like, not much is going to change because nothing has changed for them. But whether that's technology, inflation, interest rates, war, it is shaking things up. We've been in piecemeal time for a while now. I mean, how long is this going to last for? I think there was some, I don't know if it was a study. I don't know where I got this from. I could be wrong. But I think what I saw was the last major thing happened around 75 years ago. 75, and that would have been World War II, I guess. And obviously that whole period between World War One and Two were in close succession. I'm sure there was something before that in terms of global. But a point being made is that it's been peaceful for a while, quote unquote. Yes, that doesn't excuse all the stuff, the occupations and the wars that have been happening globally around the world. But you can't sit still. You need to think, what's the long-term play? How do I contribute to the conversation based on the economics that's happening right now, to the human psyche, to the human development? What does it mean for my family and my friends? So you have to have some sort of informed decision making. And if you're thinking about how do you be strategic, there's 3 stages to strategy: analysis, planning, and implementation. You have to have some data, okay, something that is your source that helps you understand your context, okay, helps you understand and become intelligent when it comes down to the planning, so that with the planning, you have clear steps that you take in order for you to move forward. That's what you do, and then you implement. Then you check against that plan to see if it makes sense. Check the data if anything's changed, vice versa, etc., etc. But that's over the long-term play. So this is where goals come into play, progress, reviews, all that kind of stuff. There, check out my life management system just in case you want to check it out. Wow, there's a lot of talking. I was talking very fast, very passionately. But hopefully this gives you some ideas in terms of what sort of skills you need for a portfolio career, because it's not for the faint-hearted. I'm telling you, it's not. To go for what you truly want to go for requires you to be ballsy and believe in self. You know, there's this whole success cycle that Tony Robbins has spoken about before. And he highlights the fact that when you take action, there's a result. And with a result, there's a belief. And that belief embeds your potential. So if you're having negative actions and negative results, that has a negative belief in self, and then your potential minimizes. The reverse of that means that you have a higher potential. So you want to position yourself where you have high potential. So hopefully this has given you some invigoration, some inspiration, some empowerment to understand that you are more than your situation and you can create something. It will take time, but you have to give it a chance. Don't just say it and will it into the air. Give it an opportunity. What space do you need to be in? What cash do you need? What help do you need? What equipment do you need? What materials do you need? What expertise do you need? What systems do you need? So I've tried in this video. So hopefully this has given you something. If you like this video, please tell me what you like below so I can have an idea of what I need to talk about. And also, yeah, just really give me some pointers in terms of videos that you want to see in the future. Anyway, if you like videos centered around portfolio careers, contracting, leadership, life management, all that kind of stuff, all the things I'm interested in, then don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. And as always, my friends, understand, reach, and expand. Peace.